here I have, there's a Samsung, I have a picture of a Samsung Smart TV. Has Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, the sort of things that you're seeing all these. The problem with these, in my experience, the nice thing is it's convenient, right? It's just right there. In the case of a smart TV, it's just built in the TV. You don't have to plug anything in. If on a Blu-ray player, if you do watch a lot of Blu-rays, and some of us do, then you don't have to switch inputs. You don't have to go to another box. It's just it's all right there through your Blu-ray player. But the problem I've had with all of these, and I've used quite a few, is that they're slow. They're just so painfully slow. I mean, just it could take a second to move between each icon, each app icon. It's just very slow, very aggravating. I wish they. I don't know why they are so slow. I think it's mostly because these companies don't have a lot of experience with software, right? They're strictly hardware companies. Game consoles, like the Xbox One, the PS4. If you go back a generation, it's the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. They're great at gaming. If you want a gaming device, you're not going to beat the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 or even the predecessors. But they're fairly expensive. And actually that price is a little outdated now. The Xbox One, they're reducing down to $400. It was $500. The PlayStation 4 is $400. Some of the older consoles you can get, for its cheap, it's $200, even less sometimes. But they're big, they're loud, they're power hungry. They have, because they have these powerful processors in them, built for gaming, and so they have fans in there. It's not like having a wind turbine in your living room, but compared to like an Apple TV, it's going to take a lot more space. It's going to take a lot more power. Now the Xbox One has some interesting things. For instance, if you have the Kinect, which they're not, the Kinect is a motion control camera that it was first an accessory for the Xbox 360, which was the previous generation model, and then they included it with the Xbox One. But now they're bundling it to lower the price because the PlayStation's eating their lunch this generation. But if you do have one of those connected cameras on the Xbox One, you can, in theory, use it to, you can wave your hand around and change channels. It also has an HDMI pass-through, so you can plug your cable box through into an HDMI input on the Xbox One, and then it uses an infrared blaster to control that box, which those typically are kind of hacky. They're kind of kludgy. And a lot of people have problems with this. I mean, in theory, you could say, "Hey, Xbox, turn it to ESPN," and it'll change the channel with that. But in practice, that stuff doesn't work as well as you'd like. One of the interesting things about the Xbox is that they have a deal with Time Warner, where you can use an Xbox as a Time Warner cable box, and it doesn't count against your your bandwidth cap, which is interesting. So if you have Time Warner, that might be an interesting option for you. Because Xbox One, you have Blu-ray, you have Time Warner cable, you have the HDMI pass-through. Of course, they also these things also support Netflix, Hulu. I know the PlayStation has Amazon Video. I don't know if the Xbox does or not, off the top of my head. But they're interesting options. If you're in the market for all they have to offer. Cable and satellite. Right. One of my big problems with both of these is that the picture quality looks terrible. The picture and the sound look awful. You pay $10, $20 a month for an HD package, and it still looks kind of fuzzy because they compress the signals for each channel to cram more channels in for less cost. So you end up getting kind of like a blurry, smeary picture, especially compared to what you can see on the Apple TV, or even what you can get over rabbit ears these days. And I'll get to that in a second. Of course, customer service is terrible. It's a little better satellite than it is with cable. But I mean, just in general, you have a long wait time. You're probably not to speak to someone who is not a native English speaker, which if you are, can be very frustrating. The other annoying thing is that these things are so, complex. The remotes are complex. My Comcast remote has, I don't know, probably 100 buttons on it, and I have just the most simple bare bones box you can buy. It doesn't even have HDMI in it. It's like the bare bones basic cable box, and it still, has this really complex interface, these really complex buttons, and the other annoyance, and they all do this now. They have ads in the interface, so you're just going through your program guide. You just want to see what's on TV, and it's full of like ads for some show or just whatever, and it doesn't make you feel appreciated as a customer because you're probably spending $100 a month on one of these things. It's hard not to pay Comcast or DirecTV $100 a month, right? They always find some way to get it out of you, and then you get advertised to on top of that. And like I said, it is expensive. Of course, the one thing cable and satellite have above everything else is live sports. And there are options for that in the Apple TV, but they're limited. Like, for instance, for I think $120, $130 a year, you can get like NBA.TV, and it has all the like out-of-market NBA games, but it doesn't have the playoffs, right? So you can watch basically almost every professional basketball game on your Apple TV, except for the playoff games, which, if you're a basketball fan, the playoffs are where it's at. That's really when the season starts, right? So, the reason a lot of people stick to cable and satellite is because of sports. If you want to watch Monday Night Football, you have to have ESPN. And other than things like the NBA Finals, which is usually over broadcast, and of course the Super Bowl, which is also over broadcast. Most sports are on cable these days. Broadcast, it's free. Great, and it has great picture quality. It used to be, cable and satellite had the edge there back before high definition. But we used to do the what was jokingly called the Bundy family box viewing position. If you remember Married with Children, they all gathered in the living room with antennas and forks and aluminum foil and whatever they get their hands on, try to get signal, and it still look kind of fuzzy and snowy. But nowadays, if you can get a quality signal, if you live in the suburbs or if you live in a city, you can get for $30 to $70, you can get a nice looking antenna like this. The one I have pictured here is the Moku Leaf, and it looks like a piece of paper, and you tape it or you attach it to your wall somehow. And it's a nice looking, almost Apple-ish kind of looking antenna. It doesn't, have rabbit ears or anything. And if you're in a good reception area, then and the picture you get is crystal clear. It looks amazing. It blows away anything you get from a cable box. But you have to be able to, you have to be in the area. And I'm not. I live in the sticks. The closest big city is Nashville, Tennessee, which is about 90 minutes away. There's also an elevation difference. So I tried an antenna, and it just didn't do the job for us. I would have to basically build a scale replica of the Eiffel Tower in our backyard to get signal. So that's the risk you take there. Yeah, it's free, but you don't know if, and it looks great, but you don't know for sure if you can get it until you do. And sometimes getting the channels is not easy. And frankly, its days are numbered. They keep auctioning off more and more spectrum for cellular service, and as the needs of the cell phone companies grow, and as more people, as people use more and more bandwidth over cellular and invest those networks, we're going to auction off more of the broadcast spectrum. And I just don't see it lasting. I mean, it may last another 20 years or so, but I think it will go away sooner than later. Finally, we have the Amazon Fire TV, which is Amazon's new Apple TV competitor, and I've spent some time with it lately. And if you go to tidbits.com, you have to search for Apple TV, but I wrote a pretty thorough comparison of the Apple TV and the Fire TV. On paper, the Fire TV has a lot of really great advantages. It has a lot more power than the Apple TV. The Apple TV has a single-core processor. The Fire TV has a newer, like quad-core, 4-core processor, a lot more RAM, a lot more storage. The interface does feel snappier. It has gaming. You can actually buy for $40. You can buy a game controller for the Fire TV. And it has some pretty neat games on there. Mostly more casual stuff. It has stuff like Angry Birds and Badland, which is a good, nice, fun platformer. They also have for iOS. Not quite like an Xbox level of gaming, but so more like think like iPhone games on your TV, which for casual use is pretty fine, right? Has voice control, which is really cool. It actually has a button on the remote that you hold down, and it's got a microphone built in the remote, and you just say, "Hey, I want to watch Game of Thrones," and it'll pull up Game of Thrones. The bad thing, the disadvantage of voice control, the voice search, is that it doesn't. It only works for Amazon content, right? So, like, if you have Netflix, you say, "Yeah, I want to watch Arrested Development." It's not going to pull up Arrested Development on Netflix. It's going to pull it up on Amazon, try to get you to pay for it. And that's my biggest problem with the entire box is that if you can see that picture there, see the interface. You notice it's not like if you're familiar with the Apple TV interface, it starts as a grid, just like iOS. And iTunes, the iTunes stuff, even though it's stuck in that top row, it's easy to bypass. And on the Fire TV, you have to swim through the Amazon river of content before you can get to your stuff, right? Like, just in this example here, you got this, you're in the home section, to get to Netflix just from there, you would have to press right, go through, the recent stuff there, go down through the Amazon Prime Instant Video selection, and then get to Netflix. The whole thing is designed to funnel you into paying Amazon money for content. And one of the things, if you're an Amazon Prime customer, they offer a video service, kind of like Netflix is, which is good. It has some things Netflix doesn't, and Netflix has some things that Amazon doesn't. Mostly they have the same stuff, but the bad thing about that is that, excuse me, got a frog in my throat. The bad thing with the Fire TV interface is that it doesn't have a section to show you just the Prime Video stuff. It just has, it mixes all in. So, like, if you can see that picture, Game of Thrones is not Prime Video. You'd have to pay for that. But next to it is the movie Flight, which is Prime Video. There's no special section so far just for the Prime Video stuff, which is annoying. Apparently, Amazon's working on fixing that, but it clearly wasn't a priority because they want to get you to pay for things. All right. If you have a Fire HDX tablet, it has something similar to AirPlay. I can't comment for how well that works because I don't have a Fire HDX tablet. I never got to try that. If you're a Downton Abbey fan, and I'm sure some of you are, it's a very popular show, Amazon Prime Video has that, and no one else does. They have an exclusive. So, if you're a Downton Abbey fan, that's worth checking out. But so far, the Fire TV does not have HBO Go, which, if you're not familiar with that, it's a service. If you're an HBO subscriber, you can log in through your Apple TV or into the website or an iOS app, and you can watch HBO stuff on demand. But the Fire TV does not have that. Now, what they do have, they struck a deal with HBO where if you're an Amazon Prime Video customer, they have a lot of HBO's older stuff that you can watch not for free, but along with the service now, like The Sopranos and stuff like that. You might, you might subscribe to HBO for. Now it's included in the Amazon Prime, $99 a year, which is cool. So that's the Fire TV. How to choose? It's really all about ecosystems. It's not so much anymore about hardware, right? It's all about that DRM lock. Do you have a bunch of stuff tied into iTunes? Do you have a bunch of stuff tied into Amazon? Well, you should probably go with whichever box supports the content that your money's tied up in, all right? But you don't have to choose. These devices are cheap. They're all $100 or less, well, other than the game consoles. And most TVs and receivers have multiple HDMI inputs. So you can choose what's best for you. There's no reason to choose a specific, one box over another. It depends on how many inputs your TV has and what you can afford. Okay, so why the Apple TV? I went through everything else that competes with, why would you go with the Apple TV? The three main reasons, in my mind, are iTunes, access to the iTunes content, which, even for video and stuff, I think iTunes has probably the best, most complete store in the world. AirPlay, and AirPlay is an amazing feature. We use it. A big use for us, for our Apple TV in the house, is we have our Apple TV hooked up to our receiver. We have a pretty small house, so it doesn't take a lot of speaker power to fill the whole house with sound. So, but we can AirPlay a song from our iPhones to anywhere, from anywhere in the house to the Apple TV, and we can, hear the music. So, we take advantage of that all the time. It's also great, if you have a website you want to show your friends, if you have photos, you want to AirPlay. I'll get to that here in a second. If there's a funny video on YouTube, you want to show it to people, you just sit it to the TV. And so if you have an iPhone, iPad, Mac, that's a pretty amazing thing you can do with that. Also has integration with Apple services. It works with iTunes on the desktop. You can AirPlay Keynote, and it has a special interface when you do that from iOS. You have iTunes in the cloud, which you can download all. You can stream all your purchased iTunes tracks. Back to iTunes and desktop, you can actually anything you have in your iTunes library, like video, audio, you can access from Apple TV. iTunes Radio, which is Apple's streaming radio service, that's built into the Apple TV. You have iCloud Photos, Photo Stream. I'm not sure why Apple calls it now. They keep changing their mind. But if you have your photos in that, it's pretty cool. iMovie Theater, you can actually, in iMovie, you can actually upload movies to iCloud, and you can access those from your Apple TV. iTunes Festival, and this will be important next week, WWDC keynotes. So on Monday, I think it's going to be Monday, it's going to be noon Central Time, so I guess they'll make it, what would it be, 1 p.m. for you guys. So you'll be able to fire up your Apple TV. There will be a WWDC app for, actually I think it's called Apple Events. You'll be able to pull it up. You'll be able to watch the keynote live with everyone else. Or, if you don't want to watch it right then, you get home from work, you can, fire up your Apple TV and watch the recording of the keynote on your big screen. So, if that's your thing, it's pretty cool. iTunes Festival is a really cool thing too. They do it, it used to be once a year. Now I think they're trying to do it twice a year. But Apple basically, they put on this big free concert, and all these great acts. They have like Elton John, Coldplay, and Soundgarden, and just a wide variety of stuff. And it's all free, and they'll have it on the Apple TV, for a couple of weeks, which is cool. One of the cool things with the Apple TV is it has more remote control options than any other set-top box. You have the included Apple remote, which is it's well built. It's simple. It's this little aluminum remote with just a handful of buttons on it, but it's tiny. Our solution to that is what we call a Franken mode. And basically, what you do there is you rubber band your Apple remote to a larger remote, and that way you're less likely to lose it. And there it's integrated with your cable or your TV remote, wherever your main remote is. Yeah, and then you can also control an Apple TV with a Bluetooth keyboard, like an Apple wireless keyboard. I'm a fan of I'm a fan of Logitech K760. It's solar powered, so you never have to change batteries, and it pairs up to 3 devices. So you can pair it with your Mac, your Apple TV, or your iPad. And you can actually set up Bluetooth keyboard from the very first screen. So there's you don't have to wait, and it's handy for entering passwords, and all that. And of course it can do all the, the basic stuff the Apple remote can as well. More control options. You can use the remote app for the iPhone, the iPad, and the iPod Touch to control your Apple TV. They've recently added some new features there. You can now, they have 2 different kind of controls. They have like an interface control and they have like a media control, right? So the interface control is like a big trackpad. And the media control is just like listening to a song in the music app on your iPhone. So you can directly control iTunes Radio and purchase iTunes content. So if you pull up iTunes Radio, you have a play pause button right there on your phone for that. Also, you can use the remote app for voice search. So if you pull up a search field in the Apple TV, you hit that little microphone button on your keyboard and you say what you want, and and it's basically a way of emulating voice search. If you use a password manager like 1Password, it's handy for you can copy it. Let's say your Hulu password's 30 characters. You don't want to enter it with the on-screen interface. You can just copy that 1Password and paste it into the remote app, and thus on your Apple TV. You can also use any of the infrared remote. And the funny thing is, the Apple TV has a lot more capabilities that aren't included with the Apple remote for some reason. Like for instance, there's a 30-second skip button, both forward and backward, which every other streaming box has except for the Apple TV, which is very annoying. But you can, if you get a third party, just grab any remote, any unused remote, and you can program it. You can have those buttons yourself, which is just kind of strange. I don't know why Apple does that. Another thing you can do, and this is what Adam Nix does, publisher Tidbits. He uses unused buttons on his universal remote, programs those to use with his Apple TV, and suddenly you don't need another remote. You just you don't have to switch which output you want on the universal remote. You can program any button you want to control the Apple TV. Accessibility. One of the great things about the Apple TV, and it does this better than any other in any other competition, is it's accessible to the vision impaired. From the very first setup screen, you have VoiceOver available that will read off menu items to you as you scroll through them. Has incredible options for subtitles and closed captioning. In terms of fonts, colors, outlines, shadows. You can make it look any way you want. And this is a quote out here from Aaron Priest from Access World Magazine. It says, "We commend Apple for continuing to provide excellent accessibility to its products and would highly recommend Apple TV 3rd generation, that's the current one, to individuals who are blind or visually impaired." So, if you or somebody has these sorts of disabilities, then the Apple TV is definitely the way to go. No one else compares in terms of visual accessibility. The Apple TV for home audio, and I alluded to this earlier, from the iOS or Mac, you can AirPlay audio from any app. Any app. On iOS and iOS 7, you just bring a control center, and there's an AirPlay button, and you press that, and it'll just start sending audio over. On the Mac, if you option click the sound menu bar item, the volume adjuster there, if you option click that, you will get you will AirPlay all audio to an Apple TV or to any AirPlay device you have. There's an app for the Mac with Airfoil, and part of the problem when you AirPlay all audio is that you get everything. You get the beeps and boops and all this stuff. If you want to isolate just one app that doesn't have built-in AirPlay support, there's this app called Airfoil from Rogue Amoeba, and you can AirPlay audio from individual apps, even if they don't support AirPlay. So, it can capture the audio stream and send it to your Apple TV, which is pretty cool. There's also, as I said earlier, the Apple TV has an optical audio connection. And if you use that to connect to a receiver, you don't have to turn on your TV to listen to music. Because like when you AirPlay something to the Apple TV, it turns on automatically. So this is one of the reasons why we love it so much for audio. We're listening to a song, we want to boost the volume on it, we want to hear more of it. We just AirPlay that to the Apple TV. We don't have to fumble it. It just starts playing through the receiver a few seconds later, which is pretty amazing. iTunes, this is a neat trick with iTunes. It can AirPlay audio to multiple AirPlay speakers. I talk about this in the book. There's not a hard set max, although it starts getting a little flaky past maybe 5 devices or so. But you ever heard of Sonos? I've heard of these whole house audio systems, and they're very expensive. But if you have a couple Apple TVs or like an Airport Express, which acts as can act as an AirPlay receiver, then you can if you have those things already, you can set something like that pretty inexpensively. The Apple TV isn't just an input for AirPlay, it's also an output. If you have an AirPlay speaker of some kind or some kind of receiver, it can send audio to that. So, if you've always wanted better speakers, but you didn't want to mess with a sound bar or with wiring up a receiver, and those things can be very expensive and complicated, you don't need to. You can do this all wirelessly, which is pretty cool. Photos. I have not found a better streaming box for viewing photos. The Apple TV has so many ways it can do that. It can display photos from iCloud photo streams, Flickr, or iTunes sharing. You can share an iPhoto album, or you can share a folder just on your hard drive. Photos from any of those sources you can use for a screensaver. Let's say you open the Flickr app, you type in Jay Centers, which is my account, and then I have a photo album of pictures of my 9-month-old son. It's kind of out of date. I need to update that. But you can, I can use that as a screensaver if I want to, and I often do. In iTunes, you can share photos from folders, iPhoto or Aperture. And you can also access, if you open the Computers app on the Apple TV, you can also access, access those from there, those that you share from a computer. You can also AirPlay photos from iOS to the Apple TV. So that's a really handy feature. If you don't have them, on Flickr or in Photo Stream or anything, you just have them on your phone. You just want to show them, in the living room. You just you open up that photo and you AirPlay it. Of course, with photos come home videos, right? So this is an interesting thing. iCloud photo streams, they work with videos on the Apple TV. They won't. PhotoStream won't send a video to iPhoto on your Mac, but it will send it to your Apple TV. I'm not quite sure why that works that way. It's very strange, but if you have PhotoStream enabled, you take a video on the iPhone. Just moments later, you can view it on the Apple TV. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, there's iMovie Theater. So you can make a movie on the Mac. You can upload to iMovie Theater and iCloud, and then you just watch on your Apple TV. So there's a lot of avenues for viewing home videos. Of course, you have AirPlay. You take a video on your phone. You can AirPlay it to the Apple TV. And then iTunes now has a home videos tab under movies. So if you drag a video into iTunes, by default it goes in the home videos tab. So that way you can separate, your feature films from your home videos. So you want to go watch, a picture of a video of a baby crawling, and we'll pull up Alien by accident, right? You can access those from Apple TV there's a computers app you use to access anything that you may be sharing over a home network. A lot of you probably have a lot of your media still on physical discs, DVDs and Blu-rays. And one of the things I cover in the book is how to rip those to be viewable on the Apple TV. There's a free open source utility for this called Handbrake. It has presets for the Apple TV. It can do stuff like if you have a season of a TV show on DVD, you can batch rip those episodes, so you have to sit there and do one at a time. Typically, it takes an hour to 2 hours per feature-length movie, and you can also add subtitles. I go over all this stuff in the book. I have very elaborate instructions that can make this stuff really simple for you. You can also rip Blu-rays. If you have stuff on Blu-ray, there's a tool called Aurora Mac Blu-ray Copy. I've actually been using this a lot lately. I'm trying to actually rip my entire Blu-ray collection now, which it takes a while. This app is free, but the problem is to do a Blu-ray. First of all, it's huge, right? Like Blu-ray disc holds like 50 gigabytes, so it takes a long time to break the encryption on. So first, you run this Aurora Mac Blu-ray copy over the disk, and it creates a disk image on your hard drive that you can bring to Handbrake. So you have to first make an unencrypted copy of the disk on your hard drive. You bring that into Handbrake, and then Handbrake will encode it for the Apple TV. And both of those processes take a long time. They can take 6 to 8 hours, something like that. It takes a while. And then you can also do subtitles on when you rip Blu-rays as well, but they're hard coded, so like they're burnt in. So either they're part of the picture. So either they're on, either you have them or you don't. There's no way to switch them on or off. A really handy tool if you rip your own DVDs and Blu-rays is iFlix 2. And that's you can find it in the Mac App Store. It can convert existing video for the Apple TV. It's designed with iTunes and the Apple TV in mind. So it's a very handy tool for that. Sometimes you might have a video that fell off the back of the truck, right? Or you just found the internet somewhere. And a lot of times those videos are really, at the core, are compatible with the Apple TV. They're not in a friendly wrapper, right? There's a lot of videos in so-called MKV container, and really they are they're MP4s. They're compatible. I'm probably talking over your head, but basically they're Apple TV compatible. They just need a new shell, and so iFlix 2 can figure that out. Oh, okay, we just get rid of the shell, add a new shell, do a little tweaking here and there, and it might take a couple of minutes to make it Apple TV compatible. But the really cool thing about iFlix, and why it's great if you're like me and trying to rip your entire collection, is that with a single button press, you can add all the metadata and art to a disk. And a lot of times it detects it automatically. If not, you hit a search button, you search for the movie, and you just click it, and it just adds all in there. And it can automatically bring that in iTunes. So iFlix 2 is super handy if you're going to digitize your collection and you want to make it look pretty, you want to make it look professional. So, of course, this video takes up a lot of space, right? For your Apple TV to access these movies you rip, these videos you convert, has to be in iTunes. Problem with iTunes doesn't make it easy to split a library between disks, right? And part of the problem is Apple is switching it to all SSDs, and they're fairly small, right? Even in a professional grade machine like the Mac Pro, they give you 256 gigabytes. When it comes to storing video, that's nothing. So it's really all about external storage these days. So there are a few ways you can tackle this. You can keep everything in just one iTunes library on your main hard drive, and if you don't have a lot of content, that's easy to do. The other thing you do, you move your iTunes library to an external disk. And you just copy it over and then you load it from iTunes, and just as long as the external disk is connected to your computer, you're fine. The other thing you do, you can create a separate iTunes library on an external drive and just keep your movies on it. Maybe you keep your music local, so you can listen to it on the go, but you keep your movies on an external drive to view during your Apple TV. The other thing you can do, and sometimes this is the easiest option, I want to do this with an entire library, but if you have a movie on an external drive, you want to view on your Apple TV, you can option drag it into iTunes. And that will add like a link to it. It won't copy the movie itself into your iTunes library. It just makes a link to it. The reason I say don't do this in the whole library is that it's easily broken. Like if you have 100 movies and you option drag them in iTunes, it'll work fine for a while, and then sooner or later, things just start breaking. It's like, I can't find this, or your cover art disappears for no good reason. And so it's fine for like a quick fix, like if you have an episode of a TV show, oh well, we want to watch that, you just option drag in iTunes, view it in your Apple TV. But for a long-term solution, probably not the best. Games. You can game on the Apple TV, sort of, kind of. You can AirPlay, if you use AirPlay mirroring in iOS, which is a really neat feature. You can basically share your entire screen from your iPhone or iPad to your Apple TV. And some games have special tie-ins for that. So, like, I'll show you some of these, but they may have special controls, like when you AirPlay mirror. There's some racing games you AirPlay mirror them to your Apple TV. I talk about these in the book, and I'm not mention them here, but they'll have they'll show like pedals on the iPad screen. So the iPad, the iPhone becomes your controller, right? But even if there's nothing special for the Apple TV built in the game, a lot of these still work with AirPlay mirroring just fine. And if you're using iPhone 5 or later, which has that 16:9 aspect ratio that most TVs have now, then it works really well. Like I think the iPad is a 5:4 screen ratio. So if you AirPlay mirror from an iPad, you get like a big square on your widescreen TV. But if you AirPlay mirror from an iPhone and you have it in landscape mode, it fills up the whole screen, no matter what kind of content you have. So that's something that's fun to play with. Keep in mind. There are some games that are made though with the Apple TV in mind, and here are my three of my favorites that I think really take advantage of this. Sketch Party TV, which is it's basically, if you remember the game Win, Lose, or Draw, it's a party game, and you whoever's in the living room, you split up into teams, and it'll tell and it says, okay, it's Josh's turn. You give me the iPad, and it might say, you have to draw a fence like it does here. And so your AirPlay mirroring to your Apple TV, but no one else sees that you're supposed to be drawing a fence. They just see what you're drawing, and they have to guess. So that's a really fun game. It's fun when you have an iPad there, you have the Apple TV, and you're like, what should we do? And we don't feel like getting off the couch to do it. Motion tennis. If you're playing Wii Sports, this will be really familiar for you. It's an interesting game. So it costs about $8 in the App Store, and you have to have an Apple TV to play this. You cannot play this without AirPlay. And so it's a tennis game, and the idea is you use your iPhone as the tennis racket. So you play this game on your Apple TV, AirPlay from your iPhone, and you wave your iPhone around to control the racket. It's a lot of fun. It's good exercise. It does drain the battery pretty fast though on the iPhone. Finally, we have Zombie Gunship, which I know what you're thinking. You're probably tired of hearing about zombies. It seems like there's a zombie TV show or a movie or something constantly now. But this is actually a really interesting game because you're essentially controlling a machine gun and a helicopter, and you're shooting down these zombies, try to save the humans from them. And it has two different viewing modes. So you'll see this on the Apple TV, which looks like a night vision view for your gun. And then on the iPad, you'll see this topographic map, shows you where the zombies are, has fire control there, and all that. So you keep it adds a new level of immersion because you're constantly switching between the gun control and the night vision. That's a really clever use of that AirPlay mirroring feature. In summary, the Apple TV excels at photos and accessibility above all else. Of course, if you're tied in iTunes, that's basically your only option there. And it's also great for Netflix. One thing I didn't mention really bothered me with the Fire TV is the Netflix app just was not very good. It's very slow. And it has an interface that took up a lot of screen real estate. I was so happy to come back to the relatively sane Netflix interface on the Apple TV. It's also a great party device. Whether you're showing photos or playing music, playing games, sharing videos with each other. It's great when you have friends over. It's especially if they all have iOS devices themselves. And if you're an Apple TV user, it really ties the whole room together. I think in some ways the Apple TV is Apple's most important product because it's that bridge between the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, and it lets you take any of those devices and put them on your big screen in your living room. It really integrates Apple's stuff in your life in a whole new way. So for that reason, I do think it is Apple's most important device. So that's it for my spiel. Does the audience have any questions for me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, here comes, we got some questions.
Okay.
Mitch.
Yeah. Mitch here. What's the buzz in the industry about where Apple is taking the next Apple TV device and some of the things that we might be able to look forward to in the near future?
That's a good question. Actually, if I had more time, I will have a whole presentation on just that. But long story short, I think we're overdue for some new hardware. The existing Apple TV hardware is getting a little long in the tooth. Definitely need a redesign to match iOS 7 or whatever iOS 8 is going to look like. I think Amazon has pushed the issue on certain features like voice search. Apple absolutely has to get on that. Besides, Apple has more experience with Siri anyway, right? So I see voice search. I see maybe 4K content coming down the pike. That probably won't be relevant to most people just yet, but it'll be something Apple can jump on, before everyone else. I would like to see a new remote of some kind. Not that I don't want the current one, but I want some skip buttons. But that's more of a wish list thing. But I think you'll absolutely add an app store. I think Amazon has pushed the issue on both voice search and App Store, so I think you'll definitely see those whenever we see it in Apple TV, and it really needs a interface update. So those are the three main things: voice search, Siri, an App Store, and a freshened up interface. I think it'll functionally be the same; they'll just look different.
Okay. Go ahead.
I have a question. I was thinking about it while he was presenting this information, and I haven't tried it yet, but is it possible to do a FaceTime phone call and AirPlay it onto your screen?
Yes, absolutely. You would just there's not like a special control for that, so you just use AirPlay mirroring. And what you would do, if you're on an iPhone, you would pull up Control Center by swiping from under the bottom of the screen. You press the little AirPlay button that's there, and then you select your Apple TV, and there's a mirroring switch, and you select that. It will mirror the screen to your Apple TV. Now, the problem with that, well, two problems is A, if you're doing the call in like portrait orientation, it's going to look kind of skinny on your screen. The other thing, of course, is that the camera is in the iPhone, it's not in the TV. So, if you want to have someone have a conversation in the whole room, which I think is a great use for it, that's actually one of the things I recommend in, there's a chapter on presentations and using the Apple TV for education. That's a great way to have guest speakers, right? Because you can have call somebody on Skype, AirPlay mirror that to the Apple TV, and then they can talk to the whole room. So, but yes, you can, sorry, I'm overcomplicating it, but yes, you can do that.
Thank you.
Don?
Yeah, the Rogue Amoeba app, I forget what it is. Is there any way to get when it plays a video, to sync the audio with the video using that? I've not been successful.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've had that problem myself. They have a special video player. I can't remember the name of it, but if you look on you go to rogueamoeba.com and you look on the Airfoil site, they have a link for it in there somewhere. They have a special video player that is designed to sync up with Airfoil. Of course, if you want to watch Netflix or DRM, iTunes videos, that doesn't help you much, right? So I don't really have a good answer for that. There's just, for a reason, there is a delay in Airfoil, so it doesn't work great for video unless you use that player. And I'm guessing it's, you would think, because like a lot of these kind of apps have like a thing where you can adjust the audio buffer. So if you do have a sync problem, you can have it come in a second or two later or before. Maybe that's just not possible with this app, but that's the best answer I have. If it's a video you can load into their special player, then that should work great. Otherwise, you're probably just going to have like a lot. You're probably just going to be out of sync. And unfortunately, I don't have a great answer, a great solution for that.
Thank you. What about Airport Express? Is there any way to get audio whenever a video comes up? If I'm
all right, do we have any more questions?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we do. Don, did you finish your question?
Yeah, if I'm in the shuffle mode, whenever a video comes up, the audio cuts off on my Airport Expresses. Is there any way to play video from a purchased video from iTunes? Is there any way to play it through Airport Express, the audio?
Are you talking about from iTunes, Don?
Yeah.
From iTunes on the desktop?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. There's all right. If you're playing a video from iTunes on the desktop, you should be able to press the. Actually, let me go ahead now. Let me pull up iTunes. I'm still sharing my screen, right? So we should be able to. Okay. Go. Okay, so you hit AirPlay. Let's see. Okay, so if you just hit AirPlay there, it'll have, it wants to send everything over. If you option, okay, well, so I guess the answer, I guess it will not let you do that.
All right, thank you.
Usually it has a thing that lets me split that out. So I think probably your best answer, if you try, probably the best way to do it is I would do it like this. I would AirPlay the video from iTunes to your Apple TV. And then from the Apple TV, I would AirPlay the audio to the Airport Express. Or, I would just access the video from your Apple TV and then AirPlay to the Airport Express. And I explain how to do that in the book. Basically, I'm doing this purely from memory. If you go to, while you're watching a video, you can also do some settings. While you're watching a video, if you, if you hold down the option button, you'll get into a special menu that has things like chapter selection, subtitles, all that. If you go to the rightmost tab in that, I think it's called speakers. If you go to that, it'll list all your AirPlay devices, and you can select your AirPlay Express from there. Then the Apple TV will beam the audio to that AirPlay Express. So does that help your situation, Don?
Thanks a lot.
Yes. Okay, next question. Louder.
Yeah, come on.
Speak up.
Okay. I have a 4 or 5-year-old iTV. Apple TV. And what am I supposed to do with it? Is there a software upgrade to it? It even has a very good hard drive in it, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
I've been just watching my photos on TV, and it's beautiful, sharp photos, but I don't know if it can do all those things that.
It doesn't have 1080p. For one thing, it won't be, it won't be the maximum high definition for 4 or 5 years.
So send it to Russia or something.
That's a good question. And I feel bad for all the people who bought that first generation Apple TV because it wasn't a cheap device. It was several $100s, and Apple's basically abandoned it. So I think you're on the right path there of sending it to Russia. Although, I mean, I don't see any reason to throw it out yet. And then that's probably the confusion with the book is that I don't cover the first generation Apple TV because really they changed the device so much between the first and the second generation. The second and third generation are basically the same thing. It's not even the same device anymore. And honestly, I never owned one. It was too freaking expensive for me. So I hopped on the Apple TV bandwagon when they dropped the price to $99, as I think a lot of people did. But what you can do with that old box, it still supports somewhat. Like there were some things that broke a while back, where you couldn't watch certain videos, and I think Apple fixed that. But you can also, they're also very hackable. If you're into that kind of thing, you can install something like XBMC, which used to stand for Xbox Media Center, because it was originally designed around the original Xbox way back in the day. You can install something like XBMC on it and really expand the capabilities. Of course, that's a little hacky, it's a little more complicated. But if you're dedicated to using that hardware, then that's probably your best option. Some kind of third-party support. There's enough first-generation Apple TV owners out there that kind of band together and do things like that, and that's probably the best way you can get the most out of hardware in the future. But as far as it supporting 1080p, I think it supports 720p. So I mean, and in practice, unless you just have an enormous television where you sit really close to the screen, you're not going to notice a lot of difference. I noticed because the Apple TV, the second generation was 720p, the third generation took that to 1080p, and I used the third generation when I was writing the book to create screenshots, so I get the maximum resolution out of those. And so we switched back to the second generation in the living room for a while, and I noticed a little bit of difference, between the two, like especially in like backgrounds and stuff, like. If you see like a brick wall, I see a little bit more clarity. I only have a 40-inch TV. It's not super huge by today's standards. But so that's not a huge consideration. But so if you're willing to tinker with it, I think there's a lot of use you can still get out of it. Otherwise, you might be better off getting the third generation Apple TV, or maybe wait until fall and see if they come up with something new and shinier. And upgrading then, and maybe sending the old Apple TV to Russia. But the thing is, if it suits your needs, then there's nothing wrong with using it, right? So that's really your call. But that, in terms of expanding capabilities and doing neat stuff with it in the future, it's a very hackable device. So that's what I would recommend.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple more. You okay for some more questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I think the gentleman in the black shirt. Yeah.
Russ, clarification on the subtitles. We often watch British series, and it's often that it's almost like a foreign language. watch it directly on a smart TV from Netflix. Did you indicate that if you use AirPlay, that you could get subtitles on those series or movies in general?
Right, well, so it's fine. You have a whole time with the English accent. No, I understand. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and sometimes I can't understand those myself. You're asking if AirPlay has subtitles. No, if you AirPlay something to the Apple TV, there are no subtitles. But if you're watching something, from Netflix on the Apple TV, of course, you have subtitles on that. So, to answer your question, no. If you AirPlay something, let me modify that slightly. If whatever you're watching from has a subtitle option, then of course that should display on the Apple TV. That would be dependent on the app. But I believe you said you're using Netflix, so in that case I would just use the app on the Apple TV and just enable subtitles that way. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Does that answer your question? Go over.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, that answers his question. One more. Okay, we have another one right here.
Are there any suggestions for watching network news on Apple TV?
Network news, like NBC, CBS, ABC, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, you have a few built-in options for news on the Apple TV without doing anything else, and that's you have the Wall Street Journal, which it's a terrible app. I don't recommend it. The two best options for news built in the Apple TV are there's Sky TV, which is it's a British outfit. It's mildly interesting, but if you're you're mainly focused on America, it's not terribly useful. And then they also have Bloomberg, which is actually really good, but it's mostly financial news. So in terms of broadcast news, probably your best option for that. I'm not sure if the broadcast news, ABC, NBC News, those apps on iOS support AirPlay, which is kind of annoying. Some apps do not support AirPlay for whatever reason. But what you can always do, the three big networks always offer their broadcast for free, their news broadcast. Because how valuable is it after the fact, right? So might as well just give it away for free. So you can always load that in a browser on a Mac, and then AirPlay that to AirPlay mirror that to the Apple TV. Something I need to experiment with this. What you might be able to do is you might be able to go to their website, and they might have an iOS compatible version of the video for your iPad or iPhone, and you might be able to AirPlay that to the Apple TV. But sometimes websites block the AirPlay feature, so that's something we'll both have to play with to get the best results. Usually I'm a bit ill-prepared to answer that question because I get most of my news just from online. I don't watch broadcast news much anymore, but those would be the avenues I'd pursue.
Okay, we have another question.
Don, we have two different Apple computers, a laptop and an iMac. Can we use each one of those to control the Apple TV? And Apple.
Right, you have two Macs in your home. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you want to
yes.
use both of those to control your Apple TV. Really the only ways you can control an Apple TV from a Mac is really through AirPlay, right? So you can AirPlay content directly from iTunes, or you can AirPlay do AirPlay mirroring. I also forgot to mention AirParrot, which is an alternative to AirPlay mirroring if your Mac doesn't support that. But yes, you can you can use as many iOS or Mac devices. You can AirPlay to as many of those can AirPlay to your Apple TV as you have. Of course, not at once. And that's one of the funny things about AirPlay. Like if you're AirPlaying something to it and somebody else AirPlays something, then they're going to bump you off the Apple TV unless you enable a passcode of some kind or like a password. There's two different ways of doing that. I cover both those in the book. But yes, to answer your question, yes, you can use you can AirPlay from all those Macs in the iOS devices. As far as I know, there's no limit to that. And as far as the remote app for iOS, I use multiple iOS devices for that. My wife's iPhone, actually until recently, she temporarily had two iPhones because she had the old one and the new one. She got rid of the old one. I have my iPhone 5, my iPad, and my iPad 2, an iPad Air and an iPad 2, and those all use the remote app. So yeah, I don't think there's any sort of limitation in that front. Does that answer your question?
Thanks, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Yes. Any other questions? Well, listen, Josh, thank you very much.
The name of the book is Take Control of Apple TV, and if you don't have a copy and you're interested in learning all you can with the Apple TV, I don't know of a better resource. That's why I wrote it. Thank you all for having me here today.